Hey, it's Scorpio season, and my birthday's in a few weeks. So typically around this time of the year, I start to do my reflection. I don't use January 1st, I use my birthday as the start of my new year. So the past few weeks, I've been doing some serious reflection on this past year. If you want to hear about how 2024 became my year of self discovery, let's talk about it. So I'm Sherry from SherryLouMiller.com. And if you've been watching, the direction of my channel has changed recently, and it's a result of this year, my self-discovery year. So the tone, even though I still am catering towards business owners, solopreneurs, it's about our journey as individuals. Because as we grow as a person, our businesses will automatically reflect that. So today I'm going to focus on this past year and how I dedicated it to self-discovery. Because I think our birthdays, the day we were born, the day our year started, is a really good time to reflect. It's also not to reflect, but to look forward. What is it in this present moment that we can do to push ourselves forward in the future? So I didn't start this exactly on my birthday in 2023. It was probably more towards the end of December, beginning of January. I decided that I wanted to do a deep dive into who I was as a person, not just a quick reset, make a list of goals that I wanted to accomplish this year, but to really take a look at myself, what direction I wanted my business to go, to explore what was really lights me up and brings me joy, and to be true to that. So I embraced being bold, which if you saw another video, I talked about Tanya Lee's challenge, and I chose audacious as my word, but I also wanted to be authentic. So I'm being bold, but I'm being true to myself too. And so throughout the next few months, I just started to journal more than I had in the past. And from that experience, I learned some things about myself. I pivoted in the direction of my business. And now we're going to do a deeper dive into those things. So if you're familiar with the meaning of the Micah principles, it's mindset, intention, choices, action, and habits. And although I live by that for the most part, I embraced it a lot more this year because I felt like my life was kind of just on autopilot. I was just going through the motions every day. It was like Groundhog's Day. I was just getting up. I didn't feel like I was moving forward. I don't really like the word stuck, but I didn't feel like I was moving towards the things that I had envisioned for my life. So I needed to kind of peel things back, peel back the layers, if you want to say that, and take a look at me. I started walking the labyrinth, um, taking time each day to, when I got up in the morning, to be grateful for the things that I have, because as you express gratitude, you should automatically attract other things into your life. But if you're stuck complaining about what you don't have all the time, you're just going to bring more of that into your life. So there was a period when I was like, I won't say complaining every day, but I wasn't expressing gratitude for the things I have, because I have more than some and some people have more than me. But what I have, I'm grateful for it. Walking the labyrinth, I think, helped me release some of the negative emotions that I was feeling towards myself. The fact that my business was not moving the way I wanted to. And then, you have to peel it back. Well, if it's not what you want, why isn't it that? So I started to just do a deeper dive into the areas of my life that were not bringing me joy, and through journaling. And I journal on my iPad more than I do in a physical journal, but I did go out and I just bought a notebook to actually write in there, because I don't always have my iPad with me, and sometimes I found the journal was just not about me expressing things, like getting the thoughts out of my head, but as I started to move through that journey and to release a lot of the negative emotions that I was carrying towards myself. Really, you can't really blame anybody else for not moving forward. My business ideas started to flow again, and that's when I decided to pivot into my own journals. But what did I want those journals to be? Now, initially, self-discovery, because that's what was my aha moment. So my journal is called Align and Awaken. So to align myself with what lights me up, what my values are, to start expressing and stepping into my true self. So I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in checking out that journal. Please do. And also comment below, like if you've ever felt this, and do you feel like you need to pause and just take time to reacquaint yourself with yourself? Now, if you're finding value, give the video a thumbs up. And also subscribe to the channel because I'm going to start a series of things. The first series will be the hero's journey, how I use that framework of storytelling to kind of move through the stages of my life. So I'll say the kickoff moment was really to decide what lights me up. Who are you? Are you the person that you want to be? Like a series of those questions. What's really important to you? And next I moved into the things that I really needed to let go. Not just things, but people. Because sometimes we have people in our life, and some of them are family, some of them have been friends for a long time. But are those relationships adding value to your life, or are they energy vampires? They're just sucking the life out of you. And also, like, has the dynamics of these relationships changed over time? And maybe you contributed to that. Maybe they're actually distancing themselves from you because you're an energy vampire to them. So I started to just go through relationships that were in my life, things that people and things that were not lighting me up. I had to admit that I needed to let them go, or at least put some distance between them. And that's not an easy process. It's probably easier with things than people, especially people who have been a part of your journey for a while. But there's the reason, the season, and a lifetime. Some people come into your life for a reason. Some people come for a season, and some people are here for a lifetime. And at my age, I have more years behind me than ahead of me. It's like, who and what is going to add value to this part of my journey? And it's not that you have to cut them off and never speak to them again, but maybe you just have to dial back the interaction just a little bit until either they get in a different space or you get in a different space. Because you have to be honest with yourself, even in different aspects of your life. How are you contributing to these things? What are you doing that may be causing you to be where you are in your life? And that takes a minute. It does. It's not a one journaling session. It's probably multiple journaling sessions to get to that point. I also had to look at my habits. Like, when you're not living a life that's authentic or true to you, what are you doing? So I had to take a look at the things I were doing just on autopilot, as I stated earlier. So one of the things I had gotten away from, one, because I was in Vegas and we went through, I think, one of the hottest summers since I've been here. That heat was intense. So I wasn't walking. And walking calms my mind, is my version of meditation. So I was missing that. And it hadn't been replaced with anything. So I think that was somewhat contributing to where I was over the summer, but not so much the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year, I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel like walking. I don't know what it was, because I typically walk a few times a week. So I would say probably a little before Labor Day, like late August, early September, I got back into walking 5 days a week. I don't walk on the weekends, but 5 days a week. I started out at 2.5 miles because I hadn't walked in a while, but that wasn't challenging me. So I got to 5 miles pretty quickly. So through my walking, which is meditation, and it's also when I listen to podcasts, audible books, those things, I started to feed my mind with positive things again. I found different podcasts that would move me forward, that helped with self-discovery, but also reinforced some things that I wanted to do in my business. So I used to call my walking my university of something. I don't even remember now because I hadn't walked in so long. But that time period used to be my educational, professional, what is it called? Professional development time period. I mean, time, not time period. That was my time when I would feed my mind with positive things, and that was missing. So, in addition to not walking the meditation portion of it that relaxes me, I also wasn't really feeding myself with things to help me evolve or explore different things. So I started to do that again. And one of the books I read, which I'll have to get the exact name, The Wealth Choice. So it was a book full of African Americans who had become millionaires. And the first story was the woman who does One Media, Kathy. I'll post her name in the description, and her journey, because a lot of times we see these people who have made it and we see them at the height of their journey, but not when they went through the struggles or when they had hardships. Because most entrepreneurs who have made it, they've either failed, they've gone through some type of hardship, they have a journey, they have a story to tell. And what I found, what I was surprised by the underlying message of the book was faith. They all had faith in their vision, faith in themselves, and faith kept them going, which typically is me. It actually was my word of the year for 2023 was faith. But somehow, I don't know, I lost that. And I realized I lost it because normally I will step on faith or I rely on my faith. Faith is my foundation to push me forward. And when things are getting hard, I rely on my faith to keep it going, for it to build resilience, not resistance, resilience. And so when I was listening to these stories, I was like, okay, typically this mirrors my journey. But recently, no, it was not a reflection of my journey. So I actually think for 2024, which I've never done, but it's my life. I can do whatever I want to do. I'm going to keep faith as my word of the year because I'm tapping back into that. I've always said I can gain knowledge and inspiration from other people's journeys. So there were a few stories in that. I didn't finish it. Unfortunately, it had been on my Audible list for a while. It's the unpaid downloads that they allow you to do, and it expired. I got through most of it. I had maybe, I think, 45 minutes left. So I had heard quite a few stories. But like I said, the narrator kept talking about how each of these entrepreneurs had relied on their faith. And Kathy Hughes. So Kathy Hughes had, which I didn't know anything about her story, she had actually had a very interesting journey. So if you want to, check out the book, especially if you're an entrepreneur, and earlier I talked about the Millionaire's identity. That's just an identity to allow yourself to move to a higher level. And a lot of us have a goal of being a millionaire. So that is why I named it the Millionaire Identity for an earlier video that I did. But you could just call it identity. What is your identity? What are your beliefs? What are your values? And start there. And then start to have faith in those. Even when things start to go off the rails, when there are challenges, when there's struggle, it's not going the way you want, rely on your faith. Rely on the vision that you created and realize that there will be bumps along the way. You gotta bend with the curves. So that was my habit because I had a habit of walking and I had stepped away from that. And now I'm back to it. Because even last week, I wasn't feeling 100%. The winds are pretty strong here. They're pretty strong again today. So I haven't walked in 3 or 4 days, and I can feel the difference now. It's probably the same thing with people who really like to work out. When they don't work out, they're just kind of off. Well, I don't like to work out. No. But I do like to walk. And I really am trying to get past 5 miles because it's not challenging me. So I just got to kind of find a different route to do. But the next thing I had to tap into are, what are my limiting beliefs? What are the things that I am telling myself about myself that are holding me back? And I think one of the things as I started to journal was I was holding on to the story because I've done a few videos about it, how after COVID, my original store, the gift shop, fell off. And it was no longer really generating sales, therefore no revenue, and I didn't have any cash flow coming in. Womp, 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 womp. all of these things that are not uplifting, that are not helping me to move forward. They're not doing anything really other than keeping me stuck. And I think when you're stuck in that narrative, there's a word that I keep using that I don't like. But when you're here in that narrative and you're telling yourself the negative stories over and over and over again, you can't move forward because that's the narrative that you keep feeding yourself, and your subconscious is picking up on that. So you're just going to stay where you are. So if you want to move forward, take a look, maybe jot down on a sheet of paper every day the things that you say to yourself, not the things that other people are saying about you, but what are you saying about yourself that is not flattering, that is not positive. So, and you probably wouldn't say to someone else. Write them down. And at the end of the day, look at the things that you have said about yourself. And if they are not flattering and not positive, when you find yourself saying those things, reframe it. So for me, it was, keep talking about how my business isn't thriving. Oh, comparing it to 2019 and 2020 when it was doing a lot better. Okay, yeah, it's 2024. And I needed to let that story go. I needed to start telling myself a different story, or at least moving in a different direction in my business. If I was going to continue to do the gifts, or I have a digital shop, to add more digital downloads to that shop, then do it. Figure out what's selling well, and add those things to my shop. But through this self-discovery journey, I realized how much journaling was really changing my life. And even though I've journaled in the past over the last, I don't know how many years, at least 10, I never journaled consistently. And doing it on a more regular basis, and even going back reading some of those entries, it started to help me to let go of that story, because that was that time in my life. Now I'm in a different season, and I'm actually grateful, because that was another area I expressed gratitude. I was grateful for that season because it helped me to see that I was not the version of myself in that season that would move me towards the version of me that I want, that's in the vision that I hold for myself. That container is too small. So the vision of myself that I want, we'll call it the future version of myself, that container is big. It's huge. It's full of all these hopes, dreams, travel, everything that I want. But the version of me that wants this is here. So until I start to slowly move up to this version, I'm not going to start to live that future version of myself. But I don't really like that concept. I don't feel about future self as I do about what are you going to tell your past self, because the past is the past. The future hasn't come yet. So I decided to write a letter to my present self, to tell my present self, girl, you need to snap out of it. You need to do better. You need to start taking some action every day. So if you want this over here, what are you going to do today to move yourself towards this? I had to basically start giving myself a pep talk, because to reach the future version, which could change, because depending on what you do day to day, your vision may change about your future self, what you want, who you become. All of that has not happened yet. So in the present moment, I have control over the present moment. So I started to focus on that. What can I do now to move me forward? What stories can you start to tell now to yourself that are going to move you out of this funk, that are going to take you and start empowering you and allow you to explore possibilities? And then through that exploration, you figure out what is it you want to do and who do you need to be to do those things. And through that process of journaling and self-discovery and exploration, self-exploration, you start to look inward. And by changing the inside, the exterior will change too. If you've ever read Harv, what is it? Millionaire Mindset. I'll get the exact title of that too, because I literally read that maybe 20 years ago. But he says to change the invisible, to change the visible, you have to change the invisible. To change the fruit, you have to change the root. So if you plant an apple tree and you all of a sudden decide you want a pear tree, you're not going to get a pear tree from the apple seeds that you planted. So if you want different fruit, you got to change the roots of the tree. If you want something on the external, you got to change what's internal first. So that's what I was on, a journey of self-exploration, self-discovery inward. And as I started to explore the things inward, the things on the exterior started to change too. Have I reached that goal? Some of them, because I have small steps every day. I'm not quite at the vision that I envisioned, but I am on my way. I have so many ideas within my journal product line. I also will be launching a journal club in 2025 because through community and sharing your journey with others, we all grow. Because just like that book, I gained inspiration through other people's stories. You can find, it doesn't have to be someone who's way up here, they've made it, they're billionaires, they're multimillionaires, whatever. You can find inspiration in anyone's story. It just really depends on what you're looking for, what you connect with, and where you are in your journey. So looking back on this self-discovery journey, I realized how transformational it is, how empowering it is, because you get to look at yourself, every part of yourself, not just the things that are going well, but the parts of yourself that maybe you don't like that much. And you need to put some energy and effort into changing those things. Because what I realized, it gave me a space to grow, to explore, and to change. Now, there are some things, because I'm just so awesome, that I don't need to change. But then there are parts of me I had to realize, like because I was in that space, it was negative. I found my patience was short, the way my tone when I was speaking to people, because I was unhappy with where I was in my journey. I was probably deflecting and pushing it on other people. But in that space of self-discovery, I realized like you can't put off on someone else because you aren't happy. Like you wake up, you're having a bad day, and then you're treating people like shit. Like that's just not acceptable. And not that I was treating them like that, but I did realize sometimes when I was speaking to people, I would lose my patience. I don't have a lot of patience anyway. The fuse is pretty short generally, but it was almost non-existent. So I was reaching that point of you're ready to just go off really fast. And that's just, it's not acceptable, first of all, and it's not fair to other people. So as you start to let go of all these things, recognize your shortcomings and try to figure out where those emotions, feelings, and everything are coming from. As you start to do that, you can start to move forward. You start to open yourself up to the things that really matter. You make space in your life for the things that really matter because you move the BS out of the way. When there's so much BS in there and your container is small, you ever seen that thing about the big rocks? So if you put all the big rocks in first, you don't have room for anything else. It's somewhat similar to that. Like if you have so much BS in that container, how's it going to be room for anything that's good in your life or the things that you really want in your life or the things that really matter to you in your life? So you got to start moving the limiting beliefs out of the way. You got to stop telling yourself these negative narratives about yourself. And as you start to pull those things out of your container, you have more room in that container for the things that you want. And then as you start to explore and grow, your container starts to get bigger. And now you become the person that can step into that vision that you have for yourself. So as I approach my birthday, which like I said, is Scorpio season, is in a few weeks, I am stepping into a different version of myself and an entirely different business. And it lights me up. Like every day, I would be supposedly going to sit down and watch TV, and I'll just start to have all these ideas flowing, and I'll write them down. And that's because now my energy is different, so I'm attracting different things to myself. And I'll watch a YouTube video that I don't know why I clicked on, and it'll turn out to be something that will help me on my journey as I build my journal club, as I build out my product line. And so I'm attracting more things into my life because I've pulled out all those big negative rocks in my container. And I feel like I'm stepping back into my authenticity, and I'm still embracing mastering the art of audacious living, which was my magazine cover for last year. So even though I had said those things, I wasn't living those things. And I am definitely stepping back and letting faith be my foundation. So whether you use your birthday or January 1st is your new year, maybe you take a look at my journal, Align and Awaken. The link will be in the description. And if you don't want to use the journal, just sit down and buy your notebook, go to the Dollar Tree, whatever, and start to track your thoughts. You can Google some prompts if you don't want to just free form your journaling, but start to get your emotions, your thoughts, and everything out of your head. And over time, just read your journal entries, because as you reflect, you can start to see how you're evolving. Getting those negative thoughts and feelings out on paper will help you to move forward. And everybody's journey is going to be differently. Somebody may reach the life that they want, or see how they've been contributing and holding themselves back a lot faster than someone else. We all have different layers to peel back. Your journey is your journey. It's unique to you. Don't compare it to somebody else's journey. Don't compare it to my journey. So I hope this has added value to you. The channel, we're kicking off the hero's journey next week. Each video will be one step of the hero's journey, which is 12 steps. So don't forget to subscribe so that you're notified when that series is released. Give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.